Bickley and Marana Mornings. Arizona Sports. The local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
There is one essential overarching mission for our football team in the weeks and the months ahead. Hail Murray must become a rallying cry in the Valley and not just a miracle moment that once happened during a pandemic. As in, all hail Kyler Murray, because that's the only way these Cardinals are making the playoffs in 2024. And alas, clearly, he's not there yet. And while I put most of Sunday's second half collapse in Buffalo on the play calling and on the shoddy defense, it is also true that the visual of Murray misclaws because great quarterbacks make plays and not excuses, and because Murray's legion of critics remain unconvinced that he can see the field at an elite level. Granted, there's also a lot of disappointment because we all heard camp long every day about the growing connection between Murray and Harrison Jr., and maybe getting Maserati Marv engaged and up to speed will be the missing piece of this puzzle. But statistics say Murray has gone from one of the best deep ball throwers in the league to one of the worst almost overnight, and that better change before September ends. All right, today's Bickley Blast brought to you by my great friends at Chapman BMW, who make luxury attainable. Find them online at chapmanbmw.com.
On the last drive, there was a second down where you were scrambling around and ended up finding Greg for a first down. It looked like Marvin had some space downfield. Did you see him there?
Nah.
Is that just because you were moving around?
Yeah, you play football, like, there's a lot of stuff moving around. You're moving fast, like, you don't see everything.
Yeah, there's the play is still getting a lot of talk. There was even on ESPN Sports Center this morning, early on, they had a segment called Doinks, where, you know, gaffes, mistakes, kind of the bottom 10, if you will, and that made the list. And is it fair? I know Dan Orlovsky broke it down. Kurt Warner jumped on in unison with Dan Orlovsky and said, "Preach." He hates the still shot.
Yeah,
when you're breaking down a play.
Well, listen.
I get it.
Let me back up and say this: all of us are capable of taking horrible pictures. That's what still shots can do for you, right? They're not always a reflection of reality. They're a moment caught in time, and they're not always very becoming, but this one is really, really bad. And because while you'll get quarterbacks sympathetic to Kyler Murray, casual fans are like, come on, man, he's wide open. He's Marvin Harrison Jr. How do you miss him? Again, a lot of it goes to what we were, I won't say fed, but what we were fed during training camp, and that is growing connection, video clips, throwing to Marvin Harrison Jr. in practice. Right? All that stuff. So we assumed there was a connection. There wasn't.
It wasn't. If there was, it wasn't evident in week one, and that's
Kyle even said it's our first game. It's our first game together. We're gonna, need to figure it out.
To use the same word that Vic just used, that was not what we were fed in the preseason.
No, it's not. It's anything but. And again, this is not the preseason. This is week one. These are real, actual games. Right? So the idea of, well, we just need some time to get it together, you've had that time.
I mean, this was Kyler Murray last week talking about the relationship growing with Marvin Harrison Jr. This was before the season opener.
First couple times around him, I feel like he didn't really talk much. And now, you start to see him opening it up, make more jokes, just laugh more, stuff like that. So the camaraderie off the field has been great. And again, on the field, man, he's a monster, so I'm excited for him.
All right, so the fact that he wasn't even targeted that often, or not even a feature of that game plan, that tells you that they're not there yet. So
that's I think even more frustrating about what didn't transpire is, okay, so he had the drop, and I think it was the perfect move to call his number on the next play, and they did. But it's almost like, all right, we appeased him, we got him his catch, and that was it. They didn't target him again for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and again, to hear the coaching staff say that's not what Kyler Murray was doing. He was going through progressions. Okay, then that would tell you that Marvin Harrison Jr. during those progressions was never open or rarely open. So that might be concerning. But getting back to Kyler Murray and these chunk plays, this is something that needs to get fixed. Over his first 3 years in the NFL, Kyler Murray completed 43.6% of his deep passes. Now, deep passes are defined as those thrown at least 20 yards downfield. Not even 10, 20 yards downfield. He averaged 15 yards per attempt on those plays with 24 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Those are pretty good numbers for deep balls thrown. Over the past 2 years, that percentage has gone down to 28.2%. He's averaged 7.9 yards per attempt with 2 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. The numbers have just been turned on their ear.
Yeah.
And you're going to need this component as part of the offense.
Well, again, big picture. We talk about the defense not being the strong point of this team. How are the Cardinals going to consistently win games? It looks like they're going to have to win shootouts. Had they won on Sunday, they would have won 35-34.
Yep.
That constitutes a shootout.
Yep.
So you need to tap into your playmakers on the offensive side of the ball, where they have a lot of them. Trey McBride is a playmaker. He was not utilized.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Dortch was utilized, but again, what he does is not necessarily stretching the field. Marvin Harrison Jr. was not all that utilized. They're not full at the wide receiver position, but I go back to what we saw in Sunday's game, and leading up to that game, there was a lot of talk about both receiving rooms. Wow, Marvin Harrison Jr. on this side, much improved Cardinals wide receiver room. That didn't come to fruition. And then there was all the question marks about the Buffalo Bills revamped wide receiver room. They greatly, and yes, they have Josh Allen, but they greatly outplayed the Cardinals receivers in that game. Keon Coleman was the best rookie receiver on the field on Sunday.
Yeah, that's facts.
What you just said, though, and yes, they have Josh Allen. Well, we have Kyler Murray.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't be that, like, when we play these other quarterbacks, well, they have the star quarterback of the group. We're hoping Kyler Murray could get
Jumps into that tier.
Exactly.
He doesn't have to get to tier 1, but he should be able to get to tier 2. And if he can't get to tier 2, then we've got to have that really serious discussion.
That's a great point. And I don't know if you guys saw it during the game. They flashed up a great graphic that Kyler Murray and Josh Allen, and I don't have it committed to memory. I think I do. The only 2 quarterbacks in their careers to average 240 passing yards and 35 rushing yards per game over the course of their careers. The only 2 to do it. Yet, that's where the statistical road splits right there, because then you look at wins, losses. Josh Allen has taken his team to the playoffs the last 5 years, and Kyler Murray hasn't had that same success. But from a statistical standpoint, he is elite.
When he came into the league, touch on deep balls was allegedly one of his strengths.
Yes.
And they need to, for him to get into that tier, he's going to have to be able to make these throws. And he's got to be willing to make these throws.
But you also remember, and we had fun with it at the time, when it became clear that the Cardinals were interested in drafting Kyler Murray, looking at a lot of his Oklahoma highlights, there wasn't a lot of pressure on those wide receivers that were running 30 yards behind the defense.
Or pressure on him.
Yes.
And so it's, as you know, it's a much different game at this level.
Oh, yes.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Marotta. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.